Hello and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to be sharing how you can paint this beautiful card in watercolor. If you're already a subscriber, well, welcome back. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I would sure love it if you would. So please just click the little button below that says subscribe and also the little bell, because then you can be notified when I've got a new video. All you need to do is get out your watercolors, get out your paper, and let's get painting. For this project, you're going to need a piece of watercolor paper. You can use any size. What you can do is choose a size that fits with an envelope that you have already, but you don't have to, because at the end of this video, I am going to show you how to make an envelope to fit your card. I have a piece here that's 11 inches by about 7.5. If I were to make the card and just fold it, then that would make a nice size for a card. I'm not going to fold it right now, because I'll tell you why in a second. But if you do, all you have to do is measure it. This one is the same size. I've measured it, made a couple of little marks here which can be erased. And then I scored it with a ruler along that line, just using a pair of tweezers, the back end, running it hard along here. And then all you do is fold it like that. And this piece of paper I have cut out of a full sheet of watercolor paper, which has a decal edge, which makes for kind of a nice finish on a card. So I'm going to leave that on there, and that will be the front of the card when I'm done. We're going to just do some watercolor doodles and add some ink and just really have fun with it. You can make a greeting card for any occasion, it's up to you. I haven't stretched this paper. I work on a lot of small pieces. You don't really get that much buckling of the paper. Plus, I have kind of a secret that I will share with you later on how to get rid of the buckling after your painting has dried. Now, if you prefer, if you have scraps like this, you can make just a postcard. Put that in the mail. And what we're going to do is a little wet and wet practice like this one. So even if you had something like this, glue it on the front, you have a card. So what you need for this project is some paints, whatever colors you want to use or whatever you have. This is a little palette by Prima Marketing, which is these colors here that I added some more little half pans to. I also have these paints, which I use quite a bit, and I chose my own colors for these, and I also have an extra half pan there that wouldn't fit in the other one. You'll also need your paint brushes. Of course, you'll need water, and if you have a water brush like this one, you could use that as well, or instead of a regular brush. So whatever works. This is a fun project. So I came across a question online the other day in a Facebook group that I'm in, where someone asked, how do you deal with the inner critic? And my answer to that is just decide to make bad art. And that pretty much shuts up that critic. So the goal here is just to have fun. It's only paper. If you don't do a great job on it, so what? Chuck it out and start again. Do something different. But you might love it. And in fact, I did a little thing like this when I was just practicing some wet on wet years ago, and my aunt happened to see it, and she said, I love that so much, I want it. And she hung it in her bathroom in her house, where it hung for years. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and sometimes we're a little bit hard on ourselves when we needn't be, because other people might just love what you do. I'm not working from any reference material. I'm not using a photograph or anything. I just have kind of an idea of how I want things to look. And this is a really wonderful way to work just when you're starting out, or when you just want to have some creativity time where you can just try things. If it turns out wonderfully, well, that's great. If it doesn't, like I said, chuck it out and start over. So what I've done here is I've just made some tiny marks here to indicate where the fold is going to be, and those can be erased later. And I'm going to take this brush, which is a Japanese brush, 1.5 inch hake, and just wet the surface, because what I'm planning to do is put some flowers kind of down in this area and some up here, and then a little kind of border. I'm just going to wet the whole thing. And yes, it will buckle, and like I mentioned earlier, I don't care. Now, I don't want the water running off, and one of the reasons I put these marks is so that I can paint over the edge of where the fold is going to be, and it's not going to matter. I like my cards to go over into the back of the card because I like it to wrap around. Now I'm starting with bigger brush, which is a size 6, and I'm going to just drop in some yellow so that there's a bit of glow, and I will decide what's going to go where. And then I'm going to mix in some pinks and reds, and one of them being alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson really bleeds well, which I think is so pretty. Well, that's a little darker than I want it to be because I'm going to go over it. Also, you should have a piece of paper towel handy so that you can get rid of excess water in your brush. All you usually have to do is just tap it and it'll suck it out. I'm going to do some of the same up in here. This has already started to dry, so I'm going to just throw in some water around that and let it bleed a little bit. Pick up some more yellow. Oh, that's a bit bright. See, when it's still wet, you can actually take the water out of your brush and soak it up. Or you can just use a tissue and blot it. That'll take it up too. And watercolors do dry a little bit lighter than they look when they're wet, so that's okay. Now I've let my paper dry. I'm going to create a rose shape. And with a rose, most of the deeper colors are in the center. I can actually look out my window right now and look at one of my rose bushes which has come into bloom, and I can see that the deepest color is in the center. So since I'm going to use kind of an abstract rose, I'm just going to put some petal shapes around it like this. Just going a little bit lighter as I go out and a little bit larger with the shapes. Now I could change brushes and get bigger shapes here. In fact, I think I will. So this brush is a size 12 and it's a pure red sable one. If you ever have any questions about anything about watercolor, please feel free to put them in the comment section below because I like to know what people want. Now I put a little bit different color in here, that's no big deal. Just remember, this is just a watercolor, it's not rocket science. So that will do for that one for now, and I'll let that one dry and move on to something yellow. I'm sorry that I can't show you more on my space, but I haven't quite worked out how to do that. So what I'm using here is a Naples yellow, and I'm going to mix some Naples yellow with a little bit of this cadmium yellow dark, because they make such a beautiful combination. And that's what we'll do a yellow rose with up here in this corner. So same technique, just some little lines like this for the center. Dip the brush, add a bit more water to the puddle of paint that I made already. When you press down on the brush, if it's a pointy brush like this, you get more color from the belly of the brush. And again, I'm going to switch brushes because I want to have a little bit more going on here. And you don't have to do it that way. I could have started with a bigger brush, but I didn't. So that's a big flower. In fact, I think I might even add a little bit more size to this rose. Oops, don't want it that dark. So take that out. Soak that up. I love how this goes so watery and you can see the colors blending. I never get tired of watercolor. Now I could keep going, but I don't want any of my next colors to bleed into these ones, so I'm going to let these dry first. Something went wrong while I was recording and my phone shut off. I did a whole bunch of painting without being recorded, so I'm just going to go over it quickly again. And these ones I took, they're like delphiniums, and I mixed cerulean blue and some ultramarine violet and just dabbed that in there like that. On all of these, this one has a little bit more blue and a little more water. And then I added the leaves and I put in this daisy, and I'll put another one in over on this top end so that we can look, you can see the technique again. So what I'm going to do here is just make a small one, and I think I'll turn my paper around so that I don't have my hand on this as it's still a little bit wet. Just go on with a smaller brush. One way to make a flower so that it looks symmetrical is to paint them like this, opposite each other. So this will be a 6-petal flower, and you can make them fatter in the middle by just pressing on the brush. So you start out with a point, so then the belly of the brush puts down the paint and you lift it up. Now, what else do we need? I'm going to add a little bit of green into these flower stems, just so it shows up the center. What I want to do now is to put a little bit of a shadow behind some of these, especially this one because it's so pale. And temptation with watercolor is to just overdo it. There, I just wet my brush, took the paint out of it, put water in it, and then I'm going to draw this paint out. I'll do the same in here. Just gives a bit of a shadow. In fact, I can just put the palest hint of it in the rose as well, just so those pale spaces are a bit shadowed. I'm not sure I like that or not. Same up here. I'm a big fan of purple shadows. I like it. Around here as well. Even though this is going to be on the fold, it's not a real problem. And a little bit under here, since that's kind of under the rose. Oh, that's beautiful. And then I think I need one more blossom or two. See how simple this is? They're just some dots in a circle. If you take the water out of your brush like this with the back of the bristles, it leaves the front with the color in it. I think that adds another little dimension, don't you? All we need to do now is just put some centers in the flowers. And I'm going to use this cadmium dark yellow, because most flowers have yellow centers because the bees like them. If you want more room to write, make the flowers smaller. But you can use this system for all kinds of looks. Now my next step is to score it, and then I'm going to show you my trick. Here we are at my ironing board, and this is what I'm going to do. You turn it over so that it's just on the back, spritz it with water, and then I iron it fast. Relax for a minute. I've already put my fold in it. So now I have a nice flat card. Here's our finished card. And what I did was I pressed along the fold with this little unit from Cricut, but you can do the same thing with the back of a spoon, just so that it makes a really nice sharp fold. And I promised that I would show you a cool trick to make an envelope. Be sure to address it before you fold it, because the ink will leak through and you don't want that landing on your card. So there's our card, and I hope you really enjoyed this video and this project, and I hope you share it with me. Please visit my website at summerbaystudio.com, where you can find more watercolor instruction and fun things to do. Thank you for watching my video and staying till the end. I really hope you enjoy doing this project. And if your card doesn't look like mine, that's okay. We're all just practicing. There's so much to learn in watercolor, and there's so much fun to be had. I think you'll enjoy these other videos of mine as well. And be sure to check in the descriptions below for some really important links that I think will help you to become a watercolor artist. And I'll see you next time.